Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of APAC Dialogue. We have with us today Mr. Deb Dutta from Datastax, and he will be taking us through the portfolio of solutions and services that Datastax offers, and also talking about how real-time data analytics on real-time data is being leveraged effectively by enterprises today. So before we start, a brief introduction about APAC. We are a media organization headquartered out of Noida with a pan-India presence and outside India presence in Singapore, Malaysia, and the Middle East. Primarily, we focus on technology deployment across government, healthcare, education, BFSI, manufacturing, as well as also the SMBs and startups. To start today's interaction, maybe I would request you, Dave, a little bit introduction about Datastax, and also if you can update us on the portfolio of both solutions and services that Datastax offers.
Well, firstly, Rajneesh, thank you very much for having me, and thank you for your publications interest and for the interest of your customers on Datastax. We really, really appreciate that, and it's great to be here with you today. Datastax is a Silicon Valley company. It's a pre-IPO company and been around for a little over 10 years. As a motto, we help organizations that are building applications based on real-time data and insights with an open data stack that just works. So we are an enabler. Think of us as a platform as a service. So that's what we do. We help organizations with real-time data and insight. And we do this on the basis of a very strong and very proven open source core, which is made up of two very popular open source technologies. One is Cassandra, which is a NoSQL database, and the other is Pulsar, which is a messaging and a streaming platform, both governed by the Apache Foundation. So we are based on open source technology. But when it comes to customers, what we are solving for them is we are a data company. We are not a database company. We are a data company. And what we help customers do is really mine their data for business impact and business insight. So if you go back a little bit, this world today is undergoing a new industrial revolution. So we had agricultural revolution, we had the industrialization revolution, we had the internet revolution, and this is the fourth revolution. This is the revolution of data. And what real-time data means and real-time insights means is that if you step back, relational databases have been there forever, like 30 years or more, right? But the nature of data and the nature of usage of data has dramatically transformed in the last 10 years or so. And this has happened because of three reasons: the emergence of internet, the emergence of cloud, and the emergence of increasingly high number of endpoints, which is basically fueled by cell phones. Today, mobility has really extended any technology usage or any services usage dramatically, and it has been fueled by the cloud and internet. So in this new paradigm, the role of data and the strategic nature of data has dramatically transformed. And that is what we mean by real-time data and insight. So today, with real-time data, we are actually solving two problems or leveraging two opportunities. One is we are enabling businesses to take decisions either through human beings or through automated processes faster based on what is actually happening in the business. So that's what we mean by real-time insight. So based on the inventory levels or the delivery status of a product or a delivery status of a service, an organization can take a manual or an automated decision. on real-time data, right? Second, we are enabling a very rich customer experience where the customer is actually part of the process. Like for instance, when you go and order a Starbucks coffee, right? You know what you're ordering for. You know whether the store that you're reaching out to, whether they have that particular line item available. And then after you order, you know how long it is going to take for them to make it for you, so that you can show up at the right time to pick it up. When you're ordering something, when you're delivering food, your application is actually telling you that the food delivery company has accepted your order, they are preparing your order, and now they're delivering. So how long it's going to take before you get your food? That's called real-time insight from a customer standpoint. So the customer experience is becoming a lot richer. The business's way of doing things is getting a lot more automated based on real-time data, and that just helps both the producer and the consumer. That's primarily what our business is.
So here, with more fundamental question, you focused on the real time data. And the moment we are talking about real time data, we are gathering a lot of, if I may say, unstructured kind of data. And these unstructured data are coming from multiple sources, and many of these sources are not even properly authenticated, or we are not sure about the genuineness of those sources. Now the problem is coming when you are gathering so much real-time data, and many of whose sources are suspect, if I may say. Then whatever insights you try to gather, however, whatever analytics is being used on that, or the insights that we are trying to derive out of that might not be the what I may say, that results, the insights also might get compromised to certain extent. So, how do you manage that? Because especially this is real-time data. Otherwise, I can understand there will be a lot of filtrations and things applied on that. But since it is real-time data, how do you ensure that the insights which you are deriving out of that is accurate?
Okay. I think that's a great question, Rajneesh. Look, the information that the data that we are acquiring, it's coming from two sources, right? One part is what we control, which is our infrastructure. And one is what the customer or our customer controls. That's the businesses that we serve. We take a very outside in point of view, right? We are of a very strong belief that opinions are inside, facts are outside. So we always go outside to seek what the scenario is. And whenever we partner with an organization, we don't call them selling to an organization. We partner with the customers that we serve. When we do that partnership, we take a very outside in point of view of what their existing infrastructure is, and we give them guidance as to how that infrastructure needs to work to best leverage our technology. So the awareness of security is very high in today's infrastructure, and the enterprises that we serve are very mindful of that process. But specifically from our fundamental platform standpoint, we have put a lot of focus and attention on security. So, for instance, we are SOC 2 compliant. We are using role-based access control. We are encrypting data at rest. We are encrypting data in motion. We have just introduced capabilities of bring your own key. I mean, authentication keys. So, from our perspective, we have very much tightened the whole security infrastructure, because our biggest value proposition and the largest growth that we are seeing are in our cloud offerings. And when I say cloud offerings, is very often public cloud offerings. So security is something that we are very serious, and we actually take actions to ensure that the environment that we promote is highly secure.
Okay, okay. And again, I'd like to understand the dynamics of because again the data which you are gathering from different enterprise customers, that nature of the data is also evolving, and the requirements of the insights that are generally that is also fast evolving. And again, especially looking back at the last couple of years, when pandemic impacted business in different ways. So, what was the fundamental changes in that nature of the data? And as a result of that, how did the insights sort of change accordingly?
Okay. So the pandemic, it's a great example of a paradigm shift. There was a massive paradigm shift when businesses overnight stopped operating, and we're finding alternate ways to generate income. What one of the key areas that Datastax really excels in is provide a technology which is agile, which is simple, and which is quick. So and we do that through multiple things. One, of course, is the database technology that we have. But in addition to that, what we have seen is the most agile environments, the environments that can create impact very quickly, obviously leverage the cloud. And that's why what we did was we put a lot of effort in aligning with the most popular control plane on the cloud, which is Kubernetes. So we took our technology, we took our database, and we merged it, we fused it with Kubernetes to create an environment so that which is very easy to provision and very easy to deploy, right? So that we call that, and we put this out as an open source project that we call Cassandra, which is also rolled out by the Apache Foundation. So that's one thing we did. The other thing that we did is we understood that we had to create tools by which developer productivity can be enhanced. You see, today a good developer doesn't want to really know how the database works. A good developer wants to deal with different kind of data. It could be key value, it can be graph, it could be column, it could be unstructured data like unstructured document data. So regardless of what kind of data the developers want to work with, we said that you don't even have to understand how the database works. So what we did was we created a API, a connectivity layer that we call Stargate, and that connectivity layer, which by the way is also open sourced, has got a plethora of drivers and frameworks, depending on whether you're using front end or back end tools. Any developer can build applications that use the power of Cassandra without the developer having to understand how Cassandra works. So that is something that we could do with that API layer that we call Stargate. So now you think about it, you've got the power of Cassandra, which is very high throughput, very low latency, 100% uptime, right? You have all of that, but on top of that, you've got Kubernetes support for cloud deployments, for automating cloud deployments. You have got API support for enabling developers to write applications quickly. And the outcome of that is magic, right? I'll give you an example. Home Depot was able to roll out a curbside pickup application when the pandemic happened and all departmental stores were closed. Home Depot actually rolled out a curbside pickup application in a little over 30 days. 30 days, right? Where people could go into an app, a Home Depot app, order their stuff, show up on the curbside, and there would be a Home Depot person standing there with the goods that the individual purchased and load it into their car. This saved Home Depot, and it serviced so many customers who could avail of Home Depot's framework without actually entering the department store. So that's the impact of quick technology. And this is what we are really good at. And we powered that evolution within Home Depot.
Okay. Uh, Another thing related here, you mentioned about typically the environment where they are enterprises are provisioning. So now enterprises typically work in a multi-cloud kind of scenario. So there will be different public clouds, maybe from different solution providers, something on private cloud, some applications might be on edge. So the whole model is very complicated. And how is that provisioning being done in that scenario? And how do you work in that there?
Okay. So again, great question, and this is a very pertinent problem. Not a problem, actually, I'd call it a situation that most organizations face. So we tell our customers we are going to meet you where you want us to meet you, right? So our technology has been built in a way where it can run on-prem, right? On-prem on bare metal servers, on-prem on hypervised servers. It can run on-prem, it can run on the cloud, and it can run on any hybrid environment. It's part of the application running on the cloud, part on-prem, right? We can meet the customer wherever they want us to meet them. When it comes to the cloud, our technology will work on AWS, it'll work on GCP, it'll work on Azure, right? So the technology works anywhere. And the nature, the architecture of our technology is such that there is no master slave construct. It's a node base, it's peer to peer computing, right? So you basically set up, you provision a node somewhere, whether it's on prem or in the cloud, you create another node somewhere else, and then you just replicate. And it automatically does that. So, it's speed and simplicity. Doesn't matter where your data sits, on cloud, on prem, hybrid, it just works. That is what I mean by an open data stack that just works, right? Yeah.
So let's come to more specifics in terms of vertical wise traction. Are there specific verticals or specific applications related to verticals where you see more traction? How do things happen?
So basically, we look at three different verticals. I mean, I would say three clusters that we look at. One is government, where there is a lot of deployment, right? The second vertical is legacy enterprises, and these are financial institutions and telecommunication companies and manufacturing units. So that's the second vertical. And the third one, which is perhaps the most exciting and the fastest growing, are the cloud natives, the digital natives, the born in the cloud companies, right? And these guys are disrupting the rest of the industry so quickly. And this is also our fastest growing segment. And we service this segment through a database as a service product called Astra, and where we provide both the database and the streaming. And this segment is growing 400% for us year over year. So this is a segment which is hugely exciting.
And what sort of specific go-to-market strategies you follow to reach these three clusters the way you are calling?
You see, the in most instances in APAC, there has been no company, no technology company at least, that has been successful in APAC without a strong partnering strategy, right? But so we are intent on building out a strong partner network in APAC, and we've made a lot of progress in the last 18 months or so. We are ramping up that partner setup machinery. In addition, and this is in addition to the partnerships that we have with AWS, with Google Cloud Platform, with Microsoft Azure, and with IBM. In addition to that, we are doing the local partnerships. But I also want to say that there are certain customers, especially in the cloud native space, who would rather want to deal with us directly. In such situations, there is some amount of transactions that we do directly within customers.
And in these, each of these clusters, which of the customers will be referenceable marquee names, maybe?
Yeah, you see that I can give you an example in terms of in India, let's say. So one of the very exciting customers for us worldwide is Verse in India, and the Josh and Daily Hunt. So Verse's platform runs on Datastax. When you talk about a bank Macquarie Bank, JP Morgan Chase, banks of those natures are running their infrastructure on Datastax. Government customers, we have got some very big government customers, including in India, but they're not yet referenceable because of the nature of their business. But we are making some very strong inroads in the government space. So very excited to see progress in all the three clusters that I mentioned to you.
Since this you're mentioning about the strong focus on governments and not just in India, across different geographies, government perhaps is one of the most regulated sectors, and there are a lot of compliances that you need to conform to, and especially as a lot of these real-time data is you're working on those real-time data. So how do you take care of these multiple compliances thing? What's the challenge there?
Okay. So the first thing is that we already have got very prominent government customers who are processing humongous amount of data using our infrastructure. So from them, we learn the requirements very easily. Right? We've got access to the compliances that you mentioned. We are actually running an initiative inside our company, which is targeted at ruggedizing our product to meet the needs of governments in any countries, right? And that is a very key initiative in our company to be able to provide those things. And some of those that ruggedization element is what I described a little while ago when I spoke about the security framework that we are building for our products generically. And this is available not just to the government. This is available to all organizations. For instance, a financial services company or a manufacturing company or a telco would also have a lot of security restrictions and things that they need to be worried about. So we are addressing all of them. We are also, for our cloud product, which is the database as a service called Astra, we have also created things like, and you asked this question, sorry, I missed out earlier, about multi-region and multi-cloud, because organizations don't want to be held ransom by a single cloud provider. So basically what we have done is, and then multi-region, you need that even if you are with AWS or GCP or Azure, but there is a lot of data residency issues, right? Some countries are very observant of data residency. They don't want the data to leave their country, especially if it relates to financial data. So what we have done is we've got multi-region framework where a data which needs to be resident in a particular country can be resident in that country, can be accessed from another country, but will not be able to be transported to another country. So multi-region allows us to do that. And for customers who want to be vendor agnostic, who want to have that flexibility, our product can accommodate multiple clouds. So you can be using AWS and GCP and Azure at the same time. And this is a feature that we are rolling out very soon.
Okay. Okay. Now, briefly tell us about your infrastructure in India, overall, about the development, about the sales and marketing, how things shape up in.
So India is a super important marketplace for us, right? And it's a market where we have made a lot of progress in the last 12 months or so. So we set up a wholly owned subsidiary in India in June last year, and since then we have been really ramping up the whole infrastructure. And when I say infrastructure, I just don't mean adding some salespeople and some pre-sales technical folks. I don't mean that. That is the bare minimum. But we've ramped up our partner network in India with a number of partners that we have set up, both in the private sector and the public sector. We've got customers like Verse and a number of marquee government brands as well as private brands in India in the cloud native space. That is growing very rapidly, and we have recently also deploying a strategy of setting up an engineering base in India. So we've hired the leader for the engineering and support team, and he's building a team in Bangalore. We are building up post-sale support infrastructure so that we are able to provide support to our customers in the India time zone. And we are also building a services team, which is able to deliver services to the customer to make the implementation simpler. And we deliver services with along with our partners in India. So we've got some partners who are quite competent. We've had a long relationship with companies like Atos, Infosys, Tech Mahindra, and TCS for many years in the US as well. And we are extending that relationship in India. Plus, we have got our own services people to drive the engagement. So overall, we are extremely proud of what we have accomplished in India over the last 12 months, since June, and less than 12 months, actually.
Okay. That sounds interesting. Uh, Looking back at the last couple of years, I would like to know how did you balance between? So, what was the focus? Was it you mentioned specifically in India last 12 months, you acquired a lot of new logos also. Was the focus, how was the balance between acquisition of new customers vis-a-vis retention of the existing customers by maybe I can say increasing the depth of engagement with them? So, how was the balance between the two?
So, as I mentioned, Rajni, we started our India activities directly as Datastax from the time we set up the subsidiary, or a few months before that. We had in fact acquired our first customers even before we had a subsidiary in India, dealing with them directly from Singapore. So the focus has been customer acquisition, because customer retention is something that we take for granted, right? Because one of the key tenets that we have built our company on is to obsess over enterprises and developers. We want to create beautiful products for developers to produce their best work that changes the trajectory of the enterprises that they work for. So very committed to that. So retention and expansion is a given, but you have got nothing to retain and nothing to expand if you don't acquire new logos. So new logo acquisition obviously happens to be a very important piece of what we do, not only in India but everywhere in the world.
Okay, thanks. So last year, like you mentioned a lot about the India plans. So beyond the India expansion plans, if we look ahead for the next 3 to 4 quarters, maybe, what are going to be overall data stacks, the focus areas or focus in that can be in terms of products or solutions, or what are going to be the main focus areas?
Okay, so for us, as I mentioned, we are not a database company. We are a data company. We are a data stack. So at this time, we are focusing on data at rest and data in motion. Data at rest is done through our NoSQL database platform based on Apache Cassandra. Data in motion is through our messaging and streaming platform based on Apache Pulsar. And these products are ready and available. We've also got an intermediary product called Change Data Capture (CDC), which runs on our database platform to be able to provide real-time insights. In the beginning, we were talking about the business usage of real-time insight. Change Data Capture is the technology uh, through which real-time insights are provided. So you've got our platform working. Any changes that happen in the data is taken by the CDC, the Change Data Capture feature, and communicated to any other downstream application. That could be another application, it could be a data lake, or it could even be an AI ML engine. They receive these changes in data information through the CDC feature into their respective engines. So that is what is happening from a technology perspective. And then once you get into streaming and messaging, you start to look at stream processing. Then you take the streaming and messaging engines and you take the data that you get from that and you send it to a data scientist to be able to do stream analytics. And all this happens using our eyes are trained 100% on open source technology. So just like you've got Cassandra and Pulsar for the two functionalities I'm talking now, for stream processing and stream analytics, you've got things like Flink, Apache Flink, and Apache Samza, which we are looking at very, very closely. So that's happening from a technology perspective. The other thing that we have done is we have taken our original on-prem product, which is called Datastax Enterprise, and we have created a new product which is basically leveraging the cloud, where we can come to a customer and dramatically reduce their total cost of ownership by taking their Datastax Enterprise workloads and lifting and shifting them to the cloud, right? And we call this product DSE for Astra. So that is the other technological problem that we have solved, which we are very proud of. And the other thing is expansion from an APAC perspective, expansion into other regions. So I spoke a lot about India, but in addition to India, we are really building out a team in Japan, in Australia, in Korea, in Indonesia, and in Singapore. These are our focus areas over the next upcoming future, and it's all very exciting.
Okay, just one thing I missed out. How whom are you doing the conversation in the enterprises? Is it with the CDO or the CIO or the business function heads? Who gets involved in most of these conversations now?
So when you look at effective digital transformation, the most successful companies who are able to do that are the companies which are committing the the teams across the company to that transformation process. So yeah, it starts with the CEO obviously, but our conversations start with the CIO. Then we talk to the CTOs because there is an operational element to it. But of course, if they go to the cloud, then the operational element is largely reduced. So we're talking to the CIO, we are talking to the CTO. A very important stakeholder in the conversations that we have are the architects and the application owners. And that is not only from a technology side, but the application owners from the business side. Because technology is an enabler, as you understand, Rajneesh. The important thing is how do we service the business? And to be able to service the business, we need to understand what their problems are, what their opportunities are, what are they getting stuck with, what are they trying to solve. And so our most successful customers and our most successful deployments is where we are talking across the board, where we understand the customer's problem, we do our own discovery, and then we are talking across the board with all those stakeholders that I mentioned, and then give them a solution which is well thought out as an expert in the field, right? Because the advantage that we bring and why customers want to talk to us across the ranks is because of the number of customers we have helped around the world, right? And we can bring that consolidated knowledge to the customer and they get it free of charge, right? So it is in their interest as well as ours to talk to one another.
Sure. Thanks a lot. That was very informative and insightful, and I'm sure for many of our viewers, it will be very useful. Thanks for taking out your time to speak with us today.
Well,
It's my
Rajneesh,
pleasure.
thank you. Yeah, thank you as well for accommodating me and for bearing with me for the last half an hour and being patient to hear about what we are doing in India and in APAC from Datastax. Thank you very
Sure.
much.
Thank you.